All right, it's a little after 1 o'clock on Tuesday, May the 5th, and this is the Administration Committee meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that the press and the public have been duly notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. First of all, are there any citizens' comments today? No? All right, moving on to the approval of the meeting minutes.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right, any comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll move right on to old business. Discussion of the Code of Ethics and Conduct on the proposed ordinance, and I guess, Bev, I'll turn this one over to you if that's okay.
No, that's great. Appreciate it. So we're starting, let me just preface this by getting through the why first and why we're doing this. And I think actually the attorneys said it best, but they captured a lot of it. Safeguards intended to narrow the scope of complaints, preserves the jurisdiction of the State Ethics Commission. This one is a big one for me. It creates a more neutral review process through an independent hearing officer, and also brings closure to a complaint. You know, the question is asked about possible political abuse of this. And I will say this about that. I think if the structure of an ordinance is weak, I think it can be used politically. But I think if, as I look at this and as it's crafted, I think it's more fact-based. It has a structure to it. And while we can't stop the political abuse, we certainly can curtail it. What I'd like to do is go through, if I can, and just page by page, and I have some scriveners. I will point those out, but I also have some changes that as I reread it and feedback from the attorneys, that there will be some changes. The bottom line of this is that this is not over, and I think the main thing will be if we can get your comments, Scott and Jimmy, and go another round with the attorneys. I think we can get to a place where we can have a final version of it. There is more work to be done, and that is to make sure that it's in compliance with our other ordinances, in that any cross-references are correct, and also the way the numbering system works. And I don't know who does that, Douglas. Is that staff or is that?
Yes, we will format it in accordance with the rest of the code, and and we'll actually talk about the recodification process that gets. The entire code gets reviewed periodically for that type of stuff, but we work with the city attorney on where in the code it would go and what sections and how it would be formatted.
Okay. So I'll start right at the top. The first one, I mean, Scrivener's error under, does anybody have anything on the whereases and that they're for and all that? If not, I'll just keep going.
Just a quick. Go
ahead.
You know, just want to agree. I think this has a bit more structure and resembles other codes of ethics and things of that nature that I've seen historically. So I think the structure's been quite improved, and appreciate you doing the work on it.
And you know, when legal looked at it, and they did say it is legally sound, which is really what we want. But you know, they did raise some questions, and I'll address those as we go through. Jimmy, anything?
If you have,
I'm sorry.
If you have page numbers, I don't know if you're for.
I don't. What I'm working with though is I took the final, the clean copy.
Okay.
Not
working from the clean
yeah. When I looked at that red,
Page
blue,
6
and
in the
green,
packet.
I was my eyes went buggy. So.
So page
And
6
then-
in the packet. Yeah.
Page 6 in the packet. Okay, thank you.
Yes, and then maybe just the
If I
number
can-
that you're, or the
The
title
heading.
of the section.
I'll go by the
and then
title.
We'll
Okay.
be able to track that.
Okay, good. So under purpose and authority, Scrivener's error first on Code of Ethics. The City Council of the City of Isle of Palms adopts this Code of Ethics, not ethic. In that first paragraph, the city adopts this code of ethics ordinance, not code of conduct ordinance. And remember when I first went through this, I took the code of conduct and ordinance that we have now, or the policy, I should say, that we have now, and redlined that. So that's like, when I looked at this clean copy now, any errors really stuck out. So that was the second one. It's code of ethics, not code of conduct. And that was all I had in that section of purpose and authority. So I'll just keep moving on unless you stop me. Definitions, I've got nothing. So that is as it is.
And this is intended for council, not all of the standing commissions and committees?
No, it is intended
Okay.
for any appointed member of a city board, committee, or commission. So
Okay.
it's all our committees.
Reiterate that.
Okay. General standards of conduct. It's Scrivener's, I deleted a comma.
Which number was the?
Compliance with law under number two.
2.
And it's in the member shall comply with all applicable federal, state, and municipal laws, including, comma, but not limited to, comma, the South Carolina Ethics, Government
Gotcha.
Accountability, blah, blah, blah.
Gotcha.
Okay. 3 is good. 4, again, it was just a spacing. As I'm going through it, I went through all the minor stuff too, so I apologize for all that. I have nothing under 5, 6, 7, 8.
I think there was an "in" missing in paragraph 4. Rules
Okay.
set forth in the city code.
Set forth, oh, perfect, okay. I have it in mine, I must have changed it and
Mine's-
not marked it.
Yeah, mine's in there.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it in
mine
there?
too,
Should be
on
in,
Number
right?
4, yeah, set forth in the city
Set
code.
forth in the city code,
Comma, Robert's Rules of Order.
yeah,
It's in the clean copy.
yeah. Anything up to use of public resources? No?
I've got item 7.
Okay,
Members shall not directly or indirectly solicit, accept, or receive any gift, favor, or loan, promise, service, lodging, transportation, entertainment, payment, or other thing of value in violation of South Carolina Code. Now, the South Carolina Ethics Commission has a floor on that. I think it's $25.
okay.
So like somebody can't buy you, according to this, somebody can't buy you a Coke.
Does that, I guess the question might be, I think the dollar value may be in that code, but I don't know, we might need to verify that, otherwise.
Yeah, that would be my question.
If the dollar value's in the code, then it's covered, but otherwise, we might need to add
I
that.
think it needs to be, if it's in the code, it needs to be stated right here, again.
Okay,
And are we thinking following state law, whatever state law is, if it's
Right.
25, put
And-
25 in here?
okay.
Right. So this would prohibit people from, like, Christmas gifts or something like that, and they're not trying to influence anything, they're just, if a voter sent you a Christmas gift, and like a couple people do every year, so we're not, according to this, unless it's in the code, but if it's in the code, it needs to be clearly stated again here, so there'll be no question about whether it's okay or not.
Let me ask you this, so the next sentence is, a member shall not knowingly accept a gift, blah, 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 from family members or other items permitted under state law. Does that not cover what you're saying?
I'm just respectfully asking
Yeah,
that
that's
a
fine.
dollar amount be put in.
Okay.
That's all.
That's cool, okay. Okay. Nothing actually on the rest of it. Yeah, on the rest of that section, so 9 through 15, I have nothing unless somebody does.
I have a real concern about the wording in 15. I share the attorney's feelings about this. I think it's so specific that anybody could just jump the gun and saying that it's against this public record, and it's just open to a lot of interpretation.
Where, are you on social media?
Yes.
Okay. I talked to the attorneys about social media and making sure that we are not crossing any line with the First Amendment. And actually, and we are not. So,
Well, it's at
Just-
the end, it says, city employees or members of the public or represent personal views as official city positions. So if you post something on social media, where do you distinguish between a personal view and official city position? And where people, won't they assume that this is just your personal view?
I think you state that it's your personal view and not the opinion of the city.
Why would I have to just state that again?
Well, if you're stating it in your social media, then you don't need to state it twice, but I think the
Right.
point here, Jimmy, is that you got to state that it's your view, not the city's view. Because we are all representatives of the city. So when I'm out there posting, or if I were to post, people might say, hey, he's representing the city, he's speaking on behalf of the city. If I'm silent about that, that could be construed that I'm representing the city. So I think that if you're saying that it is your opinion, no issue whatsoever. You're speaking as an individual, not as an official city capacity. And I think this is pretty standard in other.
It is pretty standard.
This is lifted right out of other,
Yeah.
out of other code of ethics.
How does this whole thing just improve upon the state ethics commission rules?
This does several things, and I'm going to look back a few years on when we had a council member who was accused of something and it just died. We had no process, and at the time, the council, which I was not on it, but rightfully so, I think the council talked about, we need a process. And this gives the process, if there is.
State law does not.
Well, no, not like this does. This gives a structure, this gives and it gives us something to lean on if we get an accusation.
And I think many members of current council were on council when that all happened, and the administrative committee actually was tasked with coming up with another,
With
There was a couple
revision
of council members that had suspect actions in council meetings, different meetings. And, which was very disturbing to me.
And I think that makes a case for having something like this, because what this does is it interjects the requirements, the expectations of council, committee, commission members. It also lays down a process which is independent, objective, and I think, Bev, to your point, it also will get to closure as well.
Yeah. I have nothing under jurisdiction of council for violations under this code. And then on to receipt of complaints. So one of the decision points in here, and I think this part was put in by the attorneys, and it's where it goes down to I think it was a 50-day period before an election. So this whole section is intended to curtail filing an ethics violation or a complaint for political purposes during election time. And I look at election time from the first date of qualification to election day itself. And so when I looked at this and went back to the calendar, the 50-day period didn't cover that. So my suggestion on this one is to say not a 50-day period, but a 75-day period, which would cover from the state law is the qualifying period could be anywhere from 10 to 14 days. So I took the 14-day period and then added the period that would go to an election day, which would be the first Tuesday after the first Monday of the month. So 50 didn't even come close, so I would suggest changing that to 75.
Does that timeframe cover special elections as well?
It does not. It does not.
I don't know, yeah, I'm thinking the 75-day might cover that, because I think we have to be within 6 weeks of, we can just check into it, but 75 sounds good.
So,
That
you
might
know, definitely
cover it.
would cover the general election. I didn't think about a special election.
I think 75 would be fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably works.
So there are two changes to that. That's in two places. In 50-day period would change to 75-day period. And then down in section A, I don't know why I had of this division. So no action may be taken on any complaint for violations under this code of ethics ordinance that is filed later than 1 year after a violation is alleged. So I don't know, violation of this division.
You want to check on that wording, or? Yeah.
Who knows where I got that?
Okay.
That makes no sense.
It
Does that make sense to anybody? Doesn't make sense.
should be just section, right? That's the
It could
language
be of this
means,
section, yeah.
it's talking about
Oh,
a
keep it
zoning
in and do of
violation
this
isn't-
section.
Yeah, so it's talking about specifically a code of ethics ordinance
Okay.
violation, not
Of this
some
section,
other
so keep
code.
it in, but
Yeah.
of this section. Okay. It's like a division, what was I thinking? I think there was just a minor down in B, it was a scrivener's error, just a extra space down under number 2, B2, section of this code or ethics ordinance, just a space, so nothing. I should have made a copy of this. I can do it. Down to C, so, and I can tell you that the attorneys did not look at this piece because I didn't have an affidavit at the time. But, so section C, all complaints shall contain an oath that the facts set forth therein are true and correct to the best of the complainant's knowledge in substantially the following form is what I have. So the oath has not undergone legal scrutiny, and I have typed it out. I don't know how you want me to do this, read it into the record or pass it around, but it's just obviously a suggestion, and the attorneys need to look at this.
So I think we'll have another pass at edits.
We
So
will.
Why don't we include that when we redistribute?
When you redistribute it again.
You can kind of describe it now, and then
Okay.
we'll provide copies to everybody.
Okay, so what this is just the oath that the person complaining that's filed in the complaint would sign. And it's that, I've read the foregoing ethics complaint, facts stated herein are true and correct, that's normal. I affirm that the allegations contained in the complaint are based upon personal knowledge, credible information, or documents reasonably believed to be authentic, and put down the date of the alleged violation. I attest that I first became aware of the conduct alleged to constitute an ethics violation on or about the following date. Date the complainant became aware of the alleged violation. And then attesting that the complaint is not filed for purposes of political advantage. The last one is understand that knowingly making a false statement under oath may constitute an offense of false swearing, which is a felony under the South Carolina Code, and it's referenced. So I'll enter that as part of it later.
Send that to us.
I will.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. Nothing in D, so that's it for that section. The appointment of a hearing officer, service of complaint, and burden of proof, I have nothing under that. And that is merely stating who the hearing officer could be. Under hearing, and I'll talk about this, this is the section that the attorneys were talking about it could be too, not harsh, but
Time
Two-
constraints restrictive?
the time constraints on that might be a little too much, and a little too much to babysit. It might offer an opportunity, or the situation where, something can be thrown out just because you missed some 15-day period, which after they pointed it out to me, I'm like, yeah, this might be a little too onerous. So their suggestion was that we make it so that the entire process would be the time, any action, not that part. Simplify the hearing section, with the ultimate goal that the hearing takes place within a reasonable time, but not to exceed a certain time period. And that we could set it at 45, 60, 90 days, whatever that is. And the reasoning is that, as they pointed out, you have a hearing officer, who may have a trial coming up or whatever and may need a delay, and then all of a sudden that starts a snowball effect of now we got to change a lot of dates in here as to who does what. So I would like to send this back to them for them to simplify and basically put a reasonable time frame in there for all this to get accomplished. And they will keep a lot of the elements, but just maybe work with those 15 calendar day triggers that I have in there.
And this would be a no more than kind of a thing.
Correct, yeah.
So when I was reading this, Bev, the way I guess I understand this, and depending upon which way it goes, everything, the investigation, everything's going to be wrapped up within that time period,
Within that.
whichever way it goes. Dismissal, prepare the report,
Correct.
submit, okay.
Before it's given to council, before it's, the final package is given to council.
I would think maybe the 60 to 90 day timeframe might be more,
Mm-hmm.
or 60 anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with 60. I think 45 days is too soon. But 60 or 90 certainly. Jimmy, any comment on that?
I don't see any mention of compensation to the hearing officer.
There is nothing, but there would be compensation in there, but it's not in the
It needs to be-
ordinance.
It needs to be stated somewhere.
Would that be more in a procedure, though?
Yeah, I
So-
mean, we don't generally have rates, there would certainly be a cost, it's gonna be a
I doubt they're gonna do it for free.
yeah.
Be
Yeah,
nice
we-
to know, even if it's not in the ordinance.
Yes, I mean, we will know, any letter of engagement that we get, we hire an attorney, they tell us their hourly rate.
Right.
Depending on kind of the magnitude of the case, sometimes it'll come to the council for approval of a dollar amount. But yeah, we would do, like we do when we hire an attorney, is we get a engagement letter that has their rates, and
It'll be put in the budget every year.
hadn't,
Well, let's
Part
hope
of
we, let's
legal.
hope we don't need it.
Yeah, let's hope we don't need it.
Well, what if you do need it?
Then it's like anything.
It's all
I
part
think
of
we have
legal, wouldn't it?
I mean, I don't think we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, or Jimmy. I
I'd
think-
like to know what it is. You don't want to know what it is? If we're gonna,
I can tell you that other cities that have a hearing officer is somewhere around it has been around the $150 an hour.
yeah, I don't think any of our attorneys are that cheap.
Yeah.
well, I think you're opening up
But
the
it's a
hearing
hearing officer,
officer.
not it's not legal,
I just think you're opening up the hearing officer for unneeded questions and abuse. Like if he's, if it's stated and it's clear and everybody goes, well, it's just an arm's length transaction, he's getting paid a standard rate. Just make sure it's just clear. That's all I'm asking. And otherwise, you're going to say, well, there's doing it and he's doing it for free, so there's got to be. The whole thing is going to be opened up for charges of political charges, whether you like it or not.
Well, it can be. I agree. I mean, I think there's some mechanisms in here that hopefully might not prevent it, but it might curtail it.
Also, I have a question about the findings and recommendations of the hearing officer. What are those recommendations and where would we find those? Are we talking about monetary fines? Are we talking about censure of the defending party? What are we talking about? I know like in the committees that we have, not standing committees, but the the volunteer committees is stated that, in like one instance, if you miss 3 meetings and you're off that committee, but here, is there going to be some sort of standard fines or some sort of punishment if someone is found guilty?
No, so Section E3, I think, might answer that. The report consists of a written finding of facts, a determination as to whether the complaint establishes that a violation has been committed, and if so, the specific violation and evidence. And then he does a recommendation regarding the punishment for such violation, which might be private or public reprimand or censure by city council, which is what is allowed.
So, okay.
I mean, there's no
that-
removal of office in the state
Right, well,
of
that-
South
only the-
Carolina.
Only the
Yeah.
public can do that.
Correct. So then that report is given to the mayor of council in order to either accept the findings and might maybe accept the findings, reject the discipline and substitute its own discipline, or reject the findings.
Do you intend to have any sort of possibility of monetary fines?
No.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
I don't think you can.
I think that limits, this actually limits, I think, Jimmy, I mean, this is the extent of what we can do.
Right.
To your point, I mean, I think there is an existing ethics, there is an existing state law. I don't think that this council could enact anything that has punishments greater than the state law. So in
Right.
other words, I don't think council could elect a punishment of you're off of council. That would be more stringent than state law and not allowed. So I think it's pretty.
Yeah, I'm just asking the questions that people are asking me.
No, that's good. It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question.
And I think it is
if there was-
censorship. I mean, you can be censured, you can be reprimanded, you can lose positions of influence. I mean, it's a pretty limited list of things that can happen. But fines, removal of council, those type things wouldn't be allowed by the state code.
Removal of committees?
I think it's
Yeah.
I think it's removal of positions of influence. So potentially maybe a chairmanship. We could get clarity on that specific
It
point.
used to say, it was something, these days it's hilarious. It's talked about seniority,
Yes.
and there is no seniority on Alabama City Council. But that's gone, right?
I think you still can be removed from, I think, like a chairmanship,
Yeah, but if
a
you.
position of
Position
authority.
of- If you're seniority, that tells me time served. What does it tell you?
I think it would be something like a committee chairmanship, I think. But these are good questions. We could certainly ask what the state law would allow in terms of punishment. I think at the end of the day, it's fairly limited.
Okay.
And I think our code, allows the mayor to remove from a committee or, under certain circumstances, but
I don't know about that.
I think it would be, is it mayor or council?
a mayor or council, it might be mayor or council, yeah.
The mayor alone can remove committee members?
For reason. I looked it up at one point for some reason.
I'd like to see where that is in the
Okay.
code. Because
I'll look for
the
it.
council,
I'll send it to you.
accepts, or they have the right to vote on those, committee assignments. And I would think that if somebody was going to remove somebody from council, that would be the full council.
And it might be full council, but all I'm
Well, there's
saying
a-
is that I
there's a
think
big
that
difference.
might be one of the,
There's a big difference between strong council and strong mayor.
oh, I know.
The strong mayor, all the council votes are merely advisory. Strong council, the mayor is just one of 9, which we all know.
I'll look up the code and
We
send it to you.
found that out after Hurricane Hugo in the summer of 1990 when the Beach Boys were coming to play at the Isle of Palms county park, before it was the county park, and they were coming to do a big fundraiser for the fire department. Promoter was here, standing in the back of the room, had a cell phone about that big, and he was talking to people in California, and we kept pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off. That's when we had a strong mayor, and we finally had a vote, and I think that vote was either 7-2 or 6-3 to approve. And the mayor said, I veto it. And we all had a lesson in strong
In
mayor.
strong mayor.
In strong council. And shortly after that, we had a referendum, and it passed overwhelmingly to change to strong council. So that language is important.
I agree. I will find that out, though, and
So let me ask a quick question for Bev too, and I think if there's anything that develops into anything beyond the scope of this, like a criminal issue, that goes beyond our scope and
That's-
jurisdiction, so it's completely outside. of this.
Correct.
So that, I think,
Yeah, we're
Jimmy,
not.
to the fine question and all, I think that would be, I don't think we're intending to levy any kind of monetary.
I didn't think so, but what I'm saying is, I'm speaking to some people that might be watching at home now or later. They ask me these questions.
I think that section E3I, triple I or 3 will pretty much tells what the scope of our options are.
The question for my purposes, has been answered.
okay.
Just while we're here, the city code states that city council may, from time to time, make such changes in the chairmanship or membership of the standing committees as may be deemed appropriate, except for changes in the Ways and Means Committee membership. So full council
That's the
can
answer.
change,
It's full council, not the mayor.
correct.
Right.
Report to mayor and council. I would suggest, when we talk about this, upon receipt of findings and recommendations from the hearing officer, the mayor and council may. And I would ask that we change that to must
Or shall.
or shall, like that. And make it definitive instead of optional, just so there's closure.
It's a little softer word, that's all.
Yeah, I agree.
It means the same thing.
Yeah. And just for discussion, I didn't put anything in here, but, so let's say the subject of the complaint is the mayor or any council member. I don't think they should be allowed to vote. So there's nothing in here that says that they can't. So I don't know if we should add something in that you,
That's an interesting,
right?
think about that.
I think you need to talk to the legal about that.
I will, yeah, but a discussion for here as to, I wanted to bring it up,
There's
you know,
a lot of
publicly.
constitutional questions that brings up.
Mm-hmm,
That's above my
That's
pay grade.
a good question for the attorney.
Could
yeah,
also get
yeah.
you get a split vote, I guess, easier if they don't vote. I mean,
Well, it's in the
Well,
next-
it has to be by majority, so if they don't vote, it really knocks out a supermajority, right? Because if you have 9 people, goes down to 8, you still have to get 5 out of, you have to
so
get
it
5
almost-
out of
so it
8,
doesn't
which
matter.
is,
It actually doesn't matter mathematically.
mathematically, it doesn't matter, but I don't
In a-
know.
in a
if it has-
9-person council.
In a 9-person council.
You're right.
Yeah. All right, good one for the attorney. And then, per the attorneys, again, make sure we have a time frame in here for council to act. So we'll ask them to add that in, and it might be language like, any action by mayor and council should be no later than X number of days. I would suggest 45, after the hearing officer's report is issued. And that, you know, stops any kind of kicking the can down the road. And since we only really meet once a month, 45
Yeah,
days
if
might.
it's in the middle of the month, it gives another 2 weeks
Gives a-
plus. Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
So I would
Seems fair.
suggest 45 days on that.
seems reasonable.
So just kind of timing wise, if we were to, so you have 15 days up front for the complainant to file an answer, and that, we're talking about extending that to 45 days?
No, the only
So
thing we're
leaving that?
extended, right, and that's what, this is all under receipt of complaint, right, or under the hearing? Is
Yes.
that where you're, under the hearing? Yeah, and that's what I want, I would like the attorneys to look at that and just make sure, do we even need that 15-day calendar days? And I would make those calendar days, by the way, not 15 days.
Yeah, it says,
Um,
it says calendar.
It does say calendar?
Yeah.
But I think I didn't catch all the calendars on the 15-day because there were several. And that was kind of the attorney's point, that there's so many 15 days, 15,
Oh, so you-
triggers.
So all of it
That
has to,
may be-
all of
Yeah.
A, B, C,
Yeah.
and D has to happen within
Just
60.
correct.
And then the investigation has 45.
45.
And council would have 45. So it could, I mean, it could,
About 6 months.
yeah, it could draw on for a
It
while.
could draw on, yeah. It still has enough, I think it's ample time to get it done. And gives enough time so that we don't have to keep coming back and say, I need an
These are all-
extension. or
Those are all
whatever.
max timeframes.
Max, those are max, yeah.
Just back to the hearing officer,
Yeah.
and kind of to Jimmy's point or question earlier, so it would be an attorney. I think our current legal rate is $3.50 an hour. I don't know if we would expect this to be a 10 or 20-hour project for them to do this, so we're looking at $3,500 to $7,000. I don't know if you.
That is
if
not
we-
what I'm getting from other cities, so, and it's current,
For total hours or cost per hour?
cost
or-
per hour. Now, maybe.
It might be a different kind of legal work, too. I mean, it might be a different.
This is
yeah.
different legal work than what we're, than what our attorneys are doing for us, so.
So are we thinking
Hearing
of
officer
a,
is a little different, more like a.
But even if it's a
solicitor.
3,500 to 7,000.
I don't
just
know that we
if
would
that's-
budget that. I don't know that would probably just fall into our legal budget.
I would think it would be folded in, and I can tell you that, I've seen a $2,500 bill, and that, they thought that was high, so. Total.
It might be
for
that they
hearing
don't
officer.
take more than kind of a half a day. I don't know. It could be that it's not as, it's quicker than what I'm expecting. I don't know.
Yeah,
But,
And I think it's also going to be, for the other side of the extreme, it's going to be, it depends.
Yeah.
We just we don't know what.
Know
the
how
complaint is
kind
gonna
of-
involve, or, yeah.
right, and in some cases, I mean, it's the hearing officer that's really looking at the findings of fact, and he or she might come out and say, you have no case here.
yeah,
Done.
pretty
And
quickly
here's- and it could be
without 10
pretty
hours
quick,
of
right.
study.
We have no way of knowing until we go through it.
And just kind of for expectations, it indicates that Nicole would maintain a list of 5 attorneys that could do this project. Would the council, as I see it, it would just be Nicole's judgment about that? And not, would you want to add something about the 5
She don't want that.
blessed by council in some way, or do you, because right now it doesn't say that, and then it indicates she'll just randomly pull from a hat.
Of
One of
those
the
5
5.
that have been chosen, and it's a good point, maybe has to come before council. at least
Absolutely.
5.
Absolutely. I don't think Nicole wants to be in that position.
Yeah, it sounds as though that's just kind of a standing list that
Yeah,
Nicole
Why don't
would
we flush
maintain.
that out? But I think the main concern is we don't want to put Nicole in that position. So
Right.
why don't we think that one?
that's
maybe
it.
have a
I don't know if that's
conversation.
more procedural than it
Yeah.
is
But-
part of the ordinance, maybe not. But probably the.
I mean, that list could maybe be put, maybe Matt can help us, or somebody else can help us put a list together of people that.
That are willing to do
or
it.
Some of the other municipalities that you may have talked to
Right.
already might have some names that
Right.
could be put forth and reviewed and
Yep.
kind of blessed off by somebody, yeah.
Well, you've got a lot more experience, Bev, on this about pricing and stuff, but I'd have serious doubts about hiring an attorney for $150 an hour. The only thing of mine personally. That's not very much money these days. But that's what you're hearing, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know that
And
we've
that-
seen any, and really, I mean, we haven't seen of all the kind of hired professionals, I don't know that engineers, I don't know that we've seen $150 an hour for
And-
anybody, really.
And the 150 an hour was quoted in, I mean, that was 2025 that went through that process, so.
Locally? Was
No.
it not in Charles?
No.
Maybe that's the difference. We can certainly ask Mac. I mean,
Yeah. I think
at the
we
end of
can
the day, I
get,
don't know that, if this comes up, I don't think this is gonna come up. It's come up once or twice in 10 years.
Right.
If it's a difference of couple of $1,000s to have a, highly regarded professional that has experience, it might not be worth chincing over $100 or $200 an hour
Right.
over that, so.
Right.
But I would just expect, I mean, we do have to hire attorneys periodically as a matter of course, so.
well, and I certainly don't mind calling some local cities and that have hearing officer. I mean,
I
they're
think-
South Carolina, but they're not, maybe they're
I
not,
think the market will dictate how much we pay them.
might be right,
Find out what their billing rate is.
right.
I wonder if MUSC, yeah, MASC.
MASC, yeah.
Yeah, we have, I mean, all
We
of
have some
our,
too, yeah.
all of our contractual things obligate us to go to mediation. Those mediation attorneys are not cheap. We're doing that several times a year. And not that I would encourage more legal expense, but we do experience we have a big legal budget. It's just expensive.
Right.
Okay, so
Okay.
next steps, one more
So I think
round
next
at
steps are one
revision?
more round,
Okay.
yeah.
So in
and,
terms of, Bev, do you want to make the edits that you've gone through?
I can.
Provide that to us?
Give that to you, send it
We
to
will
you.
work on the formatting.
Okay,
Are you going to have another call with Mac? Or do you want us to do that? Or-
either one, doesn't matter, I don't mind calling them. I don't mind talking to them about it and
why
fleshing
don't
it
you
out
do-
a little
yeah.
bit.
Why don't you do that?
Yeah,
And then provide that back to us, and then
Okay.
we'll format it and then have it back to you at your next committee.
okay, sounds good, thank you.
All right, anything else on that topic before we move on? Okay. Okay, discussion of procurement and purchasing procedures. We've had this on the agenda for a while, and I think we've got other priorities, so I'm trying to get to this now. And I think when this originally came up, and actually the timing might be good, if we're looking at, our costs are increasing, we're looking at revenue opportunities, but one place I think where we might be able to garner some cost savings is in our procurement practices. And Douglas, I'm thinking maybe for today, this might take a few meetings, but would you mind maybe walking us through the policy? And kind of where I was highlighting even at the very beginning of this was sort of the exceptions. And when I read through the policy, it looks, when I first read through it from beginning to end, it looked, it started out really strong on what we do, what we go out for bid on, and, how we track it and how we document it and all. And then I got to section 1.10.4, and I started reading through all the exceptions, and it sort of deflated, it sort of took the teeth out of it. And I don't know if it's a staffing issue or what have you, or if this is just a legacy item, but I'm not accustomed to seeing this kind of an exclusionary section. It's more of a, it's not the bid for convenience, it's the bid for, whether you need it or not every now and then, whether you have recurring suppliers or not, it's always good to go out for bid because it does help with with purchasing and with pricing and with terms and conditions. So I was going to ask if maybe today just kind of walk through the exceptions component of this.
Yep.
Actually,
Yeah, and just explain what each one of them are. I don't think we need to really peel them all back ad nauseum, but that'll help give an understanding. Because maybe what we do is we either peel some of these back or tighten them up, and then subsequent action would be, let's go out and see if we can find some money out of our existing run rates that are not employee-related. And that may require, additional resources or what have you, but try to get a cadence where, we can start really calling the operational expenses outside of the employee expenses.
Yeah, be happy to do that. And we can, I will just say that as we go through this, we can kind of talk about the frequency that we might use these exemptions. Number one is probably the most common. This is emergency procurement. Examples of this, and, we probably did it on 4 or 5 different times
Is
on
this
sandbag.
section
I'm sorry.
1.10.4?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm just looking at A1, kind of going start to,
I'm glad he's starting with B,
Which
Okay.
is the exceptions.
which is the exception.
Yes.
oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Is that?
Yep,
is that
yeah,
good?
no, that's right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, yep.
So B1,
Yep.
an emergency. This is, and I guess I would also just say, even when we do use the exceptions sparingly. I mean, it has to be, and we, even if it's accepted, we will generally, if it's an exception, we will get pricing. We try to keep pricing competitive. But number one, emergency conditions exist. Examples that we've done this recently, sandbags, all of that sandbag work, it gets approved by council, so that doesn't, that requirement doesn't go away, but it's not done through a sealed bid process. Some of the sandbag, in that situation, we probably did 5 or 6 different deployments of sandbags. We did a sealed process twice to kind of keep the numbers current and honest. We use that fairly regularly last year. Another example of this is City Hall work. We had this situation where termites kind of literally started coming into the building. Not only was it an emergent situation, it also was an unforeseeable to try to figure out the extent of it. So we kind of had to go with that as we learned about it. So that's probably the most common one. Next one, professional services. This is one that, and this deals with licensing requirements of things like engineers, architects, certain professional services. They are really, they're really not supposed to be bidding. In other words, legal work, medical work, consulting work, accounting work, you're supposed to be choosing them not based on who's the lowest. So that's the reason that's exempt.
On which ones are these?
2.
You're saying with legal,
Yeah,
medical?
legal, yes.
Can I ask you a question, Douglas? So when I think, would the engineering, planning, and consulting be under this?
Yeah, there's actually,
Because when I think of the beach and the cost of that professional service, if you will, I kind of think that should be outside of this exception. That's what I'm questioning. When I see consulting, I think of
yes. I mean, it could be, but those services are ones that we bid.
that you bid.
Yes.
Bid in practice.
Yes. And like Stephen's work,
Right.
he bids or he gives a proposal. Well, I should probably, most of the projects, he bids for us at the beginning of the project. Monitoring is an example. We solicit bids for biannual or semi-annual monitoring.
Okay.
In that situation, he was the only one that bid, but we solicit
You did
bids. We report that back to council. Certain parts of his work, I mean, he has been so kind of involved that it could be done as an exemption, but again, that is a judgment for council to make. If council at any time, these are all coming to council for award.
Okay.
There's not a time, if it's over $25,000, each of those comes to council. you will consider it, the staff will present it to council. The council, and council has frequently says, hey, let's put this out to bid. Let's not issue it this time. Let's get more bids. Sometimes we go out to bid, we only get one bid. Council will say, let's put this back out to bid. Hasn't been competitive enough.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of look at the way this ordinance is constructed, and it allows for all consulting to not go to bid, the way it reads, rather than having to come and say, hey, you know what, I don't want to go to bid for this, and here's the reason why. So, I mean, the legal, I mean, we even put that out for bid. We've been doing that every couple of years. We've been
Yep.
soliciting.
Yep.
So, I think legal is another one where we may, we have the opportunity. This just allows us to not go out for bid. Same with consulting, appraisal, the accounting services, audit, medical, I kind of get that. But when it gets to professional services and consulting, and this is just for conversation today, I'm kind of the mindset that should not be an auto, don't have to. It should be, you got to come for the exemption as opposed to an automatic exception. So just.
Well, I think I would say that they're all that way. They're all council's determination on any one of these, that the kind of discussion of it being procured without a competitive process is always council's discretion. So if any purchase came to you, and it was, here's a proposal from Stephen for this work, we think it could fit in an exemption or a sole source category, council always has the ability to say, we'd prefer to go out to
Right,
bid to
but
that. So it's always,
put Stephen aside or anything like that. I look at, same with information technology. So by the time you're bringing it to council, you've already got a quote, as opposed to, here's the requirement that we need to satisfy from a procurement standpoint, whether it's hardware, consulting, building services, architecture, engineering, road pay, any of that. Instead of bringing a quote, you've already done the work to get the quote. As opposed to going to one to get the quote, you go to many to get the quote. So what this is doing is it's exempting, and then it's putting the decision after the procurement exercises occurred versus having to ask to not go out to bid before or get that approval. I mean, I'm just accustomed to seeing this.
getting the approval to not do it that way before you get the pricing.
Right, and the way our code is written
Yeah.
today, we don't have to go out to bid for pretty much anything, is the way it's written. That's what it sort of says. So, and again, this is just something I'm not accustomed to. I'm accustomed to the reverse situation where if you don't want to go out for bid, somebody's got to come and make a case why I'm not going out for bid. And, we're often seeing in council, and it's on many things, there's a quote, we're going to have it for consideration. Some of it's going out for bid, a lot of it may not be going out for bid, it may be sole source, and it's just sort of we've got our preferred vendors. And by the way, our preferred vendors may win all day long. But when we don't go out for bid, I think we're just disadvantaging ourselves.
I thought, we've always gone out to bid for auditing work. I mean, every few years.
Really, for all of this work, I can't.
Right, yeah,
it's-
I don't know, I don't understand what Scott's saying. I mean, I know for, the accounting work is definitely out, although we do like to keep the same auditors for 2 or 3 years, but after 2 or 3 years, or maybe 4, it's always to get a fresh eyes on it.
Right.
And so we go out for bid, but on that, but the contract is not necessarily for just 1 year.
Yeah.
So why don't we keep going?
Yeah,
Just,
okay.
So that way we know what's excluded.
And I think I should have, I guess I should have prefaced this, and it would have gone back to the section that Scott was starting with when required. So bidding would be required on any purchase over 25,000. So if it's less than 25, it's in the budget, there's a quote, basically staff gets 3 quotes, goes with the lowest of the 3 quotes, but these are for purchases more than $25,000. Those are the ones that go out to bid. So that's the ones we're talking about here. And then once you're over 25, then these exemptions would start to play in, but they all have to go through council. So the staff is not approving any purchases over $25,000, whether they're bid or not bid. So professional services in 2, number 3, utilities, obviously there's no bid there. IT, this is another one that we have done this competitively.
Can I ask you about utilities, including gas, electric, water, sewer? Does that include also like telecom services as a utility, or?
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't say that it doesn't include it, but it's not. on
I
the
think,
list.
I think now, I think we would put telecom in IT,
Okay.
which is the one right below it.
I agree with that. Okay.
That is one, though, that, so information technology, when we changed IT providers to VC3, that was done through a, and it wasn't really a sealed bid process, it was a request for proposals. Still a competitive process. Maintenance and repair to vehicles, this is a common one. And quite frankly, this one is also somewhat akin to the emergency. When this is heavily utilized in the Public Works Department, and that's really just a timing issue.
Douglas, I have a question about
Yeah.
that.
Yep,
Years ago, we had a city mechanic,
yep.
it was Tommy, and we got away from that and just do it by job. Is there ever been discussion about talking about that again, having somebody on staff?
And we've done it since Tommy. We had Jeff Hack for a number of
Yeah.
years. We have, and I will just tell you that I do think maintenance, we have had very high maintenance and repairs to vehicles
Right, especially public works.
with Public Works here in recent years. I think that's being acknowledged by the Public Works Department. I do think that they have taken on the mindset of trying to get the last mile out of every vehicle they can get the last mile of. And I think that's I think that has bitten them a little bit more than they're comfortable with here in the last couple of years. And I believe, and you'll see in their budget, they're refreshing vehicles at a quicker cadence than they used to. They were in a posture of deferring purchase every year, and it's led to a very old fleet that is going to be prone to high maintenance bills. I feel sure that the maintenance expense, their strategy has saved money, but I think it's cost and efficiencies with having vehicles out. So they've been kind of stretching the vehicles probably longer than they should have. And I think that's going to change. And I think you're seeing that in your most recent budget.
Douglas, I have a question.
Yeah.
So what is essential? How do you define essential in an essential city service?
I think that would be basically every vehicle. I don't think,
Right.
because it's police, fire, public works, or,
I was just curious what the non-essential vehicles were.
yeah. Maybe that would be Carrie's.
Carrie,
Carrie has a
rec-
vehicle, that
rec.
might be a non-essential. But again, we're also talking about, these would be purchases over $25,000. So
Okay.
if Carrie needed an expenditure that was more than 25, it would go through
It would have
some
to go
kind of
through process.
competitive process. Where, I mean, the Public Works, they hit a trigger pretty quickly. Replacement parts of existing equipment supplied by the original,
No, what's the one above it?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
I don't even know what that one would be.
I wouldn't.
Maintenance of service
I'm glad you said
contracts,
that, Dr.
which are made with the, I mean, we do have, ones that come to mind, we do have Dell service contracts with our servers that go through, I can't think of any other service contracts. Dell's the only one that comes to mind on our servers. Again, they're not high enough to be in the
25.
bidding category anyway.
Maybe in the aggregate, again, I don't know, well, that's in the other page on that IT stuff, but.
Replacement parts of existing equipment supplied by the original equipment manufacturer or authorized dealer. Oh, the only, this one would be, I think, only used maintenance for vehicles. So kind of covered under 3 as well. Routine, recurring purchases, e.g. office supplies. I think that is, to Scott's point, talking about things that are happening in the aggregate. We're not ever purchasing more than $25,000 worth of office supplies. But if you were to take our entire annual budget for office supplies, we're triggering over that. Works of art, I don't know that we've ever used that one. Competitive online bidding, including but not limited to reverse auctions. Don't think we've ever used that. Corrective work necessary for repairing or replacing faulty or defective workmanship. This one I know is as a result of the public safety building. This code was put into place around the time we were having all the problems with the public safety building.
So Douglas, the ones that you mentioned that you don't think has ever come up, are you in favor of striking them?
Yeah, I think I'd be happy to. Holiday decoration, that one, but I think council, now that didn't happen competitively, but I think there was only one person that provided that service. Yeah, that's very kind of specific to would not have, it happens so rarely, would have no problem striking them.
Well, there used to be that individuals and businesses would sponsor one of those, lighted displays. And I think the recreation department handled that, and for some reason they stopped.
I don't know that expense is over the 25,000. I don't think it is.
It is. It's just a few $100 or.
Well,
That's a receipt coming in, though. That's not going out.
we do have we have a company that stores all of our holiday displays. They bring it out annually. I don't think that's 25. I think it's less than that. But there's a sizable expense
Yeah, okay.
associated with the holiday decorations. Number 4, this is sole source. This does happen. This does happen occasionally. I will say that anytime this happens, this comes through to council with a memo explaining why we believe it's sole source. That's probably the second most common. We just in the meeting prior to this, the police department is presenting a sole source case for their records management system. This is, though, a good example where they have solicited quotes, and that'll be provided to council. But based on the responses and the proposals that were given to the city, they feel like it's a sole provider that can provide the services that they want. But it has gone through
They've already gone through
a
an
process.
RFQ process, yeah. Or
And
RFI,
I will say it is a less formal, it's not been a sealed bidding process, but there has been a process that's gone through, and again, that'll come to council for your consideration.
But yeah, that sounds like a case, though, they kind of went through a solicitation.
Yes. And I will say that true sealed bidding is a very easy, and I say it's easy. We need bids on a roof right now. That's a thing that will take some member of our staff 6-8 hours to put that together, to post it, to advertise it, to respond to the questions, to meet with. So, I mean, there is a time associated with every time we go out
Sure.
to bid.
It's a resource, yeah.
Yeah, and if we were to want to get to a point, and that is one that we will do and we have to do, and that's also a simple one. Every bidder is going to be bidding on the same exact roofing product. It's a relatively simple one. So that's one that we will do. It's on our docket to do it, but it takes time. It takes basically probably a day of work out of somebody's schedule to do that. Sole sources 4, 5, testing,
This is trial
trial.
and test.
I don't think we've ever used that. Next one. This is one that we talk about a lot. I don't know that we use it much at all, but this is if our neighbors have gone through like an identical thing. This is a little bit akin to the police department using the RMS system that they're talking about. Sullivan's Island, all cities that have this legacy software are having to transition out of it. Sullivan's Island's transitioning out of it. So that one we look to a lot, but we don't actually use it very frequently. Where a neighboring city has just gone through a bidding process and we can just borrow their bids.
Do y'all have, I'm just more curious, do y'all have some kind of a shared database on what y'all are bidding? Does MESC provide that, or is that something y'all have to go out and look at each individual website to see if somebody's bought it recently?
Yeah, we do have to kind of hunt.
It's a push, not a
Yeah, it's a
pull.
hunt and a peck. Number 7, this is one that we do use a lot when it's on the state procurement list. This we use for almost all of our vehicles. That one is probably the most common.
Number 8, usually,
Number 8.
from time to time you had to.
I would say that 8 is pretty closely akin to an emergency. We just
Yeah.
don't have, I mean, something's urgent, we don't have time to do it. So, while things like sandbags, I would have processed as an emergency, they probably could have also fit under this exception.
So maybe we could even combine
Combine 'em?
8
Yeah.
and 1.
Yeah, they're kind of one and the same in my mind. Uh, 9. Also, emergency purchases. The approval requirements set forth. 10.3 shall apply. Oh, okay, so that's. So that was where we started with, is that any purchase, whether it's exempt or not, comes through council if it's over 25,000. So that one's just saying, even though it's exempt, it's not exempt from going to council for approval.
Or am I reading that it says shall not be required?
Yeah.
Council approval that Sally council shall not be required for emergency purchases.
Oh, for emergency, yes, that is correct. I think emergency, we still give notice.
So maybe we
And
take a look at 8, 1, and 9 and see how that all. Although this is blanketing everything, or, I may have to read this one a few times. I did go in a circular on this one.
110.3, so that's going to council, is 110.3 shall apply to exceed limit. So I think that is saying, my understanding of that is if it's an exemption, it generally still has to go, if it's an exception, it still has to go to council. you can't read this and say, oh, this is exempt from competitive bidding, therefore staff can approve these expenses. But then they're carving out that says, except for emergencies.
Right, okay, so everything except for one
Yes,
still has to come to
Goes
council,
back
but
through
it would come
council.
through to council after the fact,
that's correct. Yeah, emergencies.
on
come after
all,
the
on
fact.
all of these.
Well, all of them,
All of the exceptions come back to council after the fact.
no, they all go to
Except
council
for-
before we procure anything more than 25,000. Even if it's in an exception, we bring that to council first,
Except for one.
except if it's an emergency situation.
Okay.
Can you clarify something for me?
Sure.
Because when I first read this, and I read the exceptions, and especially number 3, that says the following types of expenditures are exempt from the competitive procurement requirements of this section. Does that not mean that it is exempt from all these, under the when required, under 110.4?
I lost you. Where are you, Bill?
So I'm in the exceptions, so number 3, actually, where I see, so you, where it sets out all the exemptions, right, from 1 to 9. Am I hearing you say that this only applies for over 25,000, or?
If it's under 25,000
Right.
and it's in the budget, it's exempt from coming to council. It does not come to council.
It does not come to council?
It's reported, so if it's under 10 and it's in the budget, it just happens and it doesn't get reported. If it's between 10 and 25,
Right,
it doesn't go to council, but it's reported to council. If it's over 25, it goes to council before it's procured, even if it's an exception, except if it's an emergency purchase.
Okay.
That gets procured first, then comes to council as a notice.
But they're all in the budget, so council has had a chance
it's-
to look at
If
everything.
it's outside of the budget,
Right,
if it's over 25, it comes to you whether it's in the budget or not.
Right, I
If
understand.
it's between 10 and 25 and in the budget, it happens and you're
right,
reported.
my point is.
If it's
in the-
outside of the budget and over 10, it comes to you.
But my point is, if it's 10 to 25, it's in the budget.
That's correct.
In the budget means that council has approved the budget, the entire budget.
That's correct.
So they already have a shot at it.
That's correct. There are things, an example of this, and one that's like right on is a jet ski. I think those jet skis are like right around 25, they're like 20. And so that's an example. It's in the budget. Council approves that in the budget. If it comes back to us and it's under 25, we authorize them to just go buy it. It then gets reported to you because it's between 10 and 25.
Right.
But it doesn't come to you because it's less than 25 before we buy it.
Correct.
If it's not, if they had 2 in the budget, they buy 2, they want a third one, that third one obviously is outside of budget. Even though it's less than 25, it comes to you all for approval.
Yeah, I mean, there's no random spending going on without council's approval.
That's correct.
And I think, I appreciate that. I really am looking at this, being the newbie, as we're looking at this budget, and I've said it before at council, we need to tighten our belt a little bit. This is a good way to tighten the belt and make sure that we have all our processes in place on the procurement, where maybe there might be some efficiencies we can look at, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, from my perspective, that every one of them's coming to you all. So if you ever see one that, and I feel like this has happened where we present you, here's the process, here's either the bids, the quotes, the proposals. If something doesn't set well with council, just let us know and we'll do whatever it is that you all want.
Douglas, you mentioned on the exceptions,
What section are you in?
I'm trying to
B.
I'm at 110.4, the competitive procurement requirements exceptions, the A section. And I'm trying to see where it says that, and maybe I'm just misreading it, about that the next section on the exemptions is 25K and above. I'm not seeing.
So where are you, Scott?
Okay, I'm on
110.4, which
110.4,
subsection?
the,
B,
well,
exceptions?
I was looking in A
Okay.
to see if there was a reference to the exceptions being over 25,000. And I see a reference to the 25,000, but it jumps to section 1.10.5. And it doesn't refer that the exceptions in 10.4, I'm sorry, in the exceptions section are for 25,000 and above. So and that may be something we can follow up on. I just
See,
didn't
that's
see
where I
it.
was confused with
So,
that.
so from 5 to 10, the process there is you get, it's not a sealed bidding process, it's you get quotes.
Yeah. that
So
makes-
there's a
makes perfect
process,
sense.
but
It's
there's
small.
not a-
You
there's
just go
not
out and
a-
get- Yeah.
It's not a full bore sealed.
I was trying to see where the exceptions, this section here on B, I didn't see any reference to the 25,000. It seemed like the way I read this initially, and maybe I just missed it, was that those exceptions were for any dollar amount.
That's how I read it too, honestly.
And we can follow. Today, I don't want to burn the clock too much here, but I just wanted to this has been really helpful on just the exceptions, and
Yeah.
what I would suggest is maybe what we can do is, just follow up and see if that is related to the 25, or if it's any dollar amount. And then maybe we can spend the next cycle here kind of chewing on this and coming back with some recommendations on it.
Yeah, so, and the ordinance talks, I mean, it speaks of a competitive process.
Yeah.
I think the ordinance is speaking to everything, down to the $5,000 to $10,000 level, being competitive, but at the lower levels, it's just getting a few prices. Hey, we need a door painted.
That's
Can you give-
practical. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
So it
That's what I
kind of
said.
ramps up as you get more expensive. But there is a competitive process for all of them,
Right.
unless they're exempted. And I think I was just focusing in what you all are looking at, because you're really not looking at things in the budget less than 25.
No, yeah, what I was looking at, and I think why this came up, was just the way it's written. This whole upfront looks really good on the competitive bids, logging it, documenting it, et cetera.
Yep.
But then the exceptions, if it doesn't have a 25,000, it basically says, the way this is written, I believe, that, all this stuff we don't have to go out for bid. We can, it's an exemption, and we can bring things to council that's already been, we've got one quote and we're going for an approval, versus what I would consider the flip of that is you go out for bid ahead of time, and then you bring those outcomes to council. I think we just get a better pricing and better terms and conditions. Again, that's just what I'm accustomed to. So why don't we just take another cycle on this and come back with some
Do
recommendations?
you have a dollar amount? Do you have a dollar amount?
I think right here, Jimmy, with the, if this is a $25,000, it's not so much the dollar value. I don't think we need to go out and do expansive quoting for, I think they got
Painting a door,
25,000.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not the intention. But where we've got big buckets of dollars that are recurring year after year, not, IT and telecom are a great one, that I look at. We're up to now, probably, if I look at the capital expenditures we're talking about, we might spend $1 million this year. That's a lot of money. And just with my familiarity, just in that particular bucket, and I think, I know Philip's interested in looking at insurances, and some others. There are some other pockets of non-employee expenses that I think if we can get some, a little bit more aggressive shopping practices, but you're gonna need, you have to have resources to do
Right.
that. I think we can bring some prices down, and if we can, we keep talking about all these revenue increases that we're gonna need. The opposite side of that is if we can do cost reductions, we end up in the same place.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think we talk a ton about IT specifically, and it just seems, for a lot of different reasons, but it's a big cost item. we happen to be coming up with renewal with VC3.
But I look at that schedule that we have this morning, we've got a bucket of that 800 to a million, well, the IT piece is a little bit smaller than that, but we've got, a list of maybe 50 vendors providing it. There's vendor consolidation that can
Yeah.
occur, all of this, when you have more spend that you can give to one or another, consolidation. And I think this stuff has just been going on for year after year.
Yeah.
We add to it, but we don't necessarily groom it or call it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's, yeah. So to your point, Jimmy, I'm not trying to put more rigor on small purchases. That would be foolish, I think.
Yeah, I'm still looking for a dollar amount.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're 25, you don't have
You're
an issue
you're
with
already at
25.
25, yeah. I
Yeah,
don't
25 is
see any
what's
issue
there
with
now, it
25,
sounds like.
yeah.
You think that's
And
reasonable?
it might be, and you know what, for some other things, it might be higher, Just, I think that's why I wanted to kind of take another cycle and
Yeah.
think about this. Okay. Any more on that topic for today? Discussion of recodification process of the city code.
And I think this came out of our strategic planning meeting as a need. I think we fully, the staff fully is in agreement that this has been a long time, and we're in need of doing it. This is one that Joshua just reached out to our current, for kind of a benchmark of what we're expecting to spend. Our current code hosting company, MuniCode, they are also in the recodification business. They actually did it the last time we went through this process, about 10 years ago. They have generally kind of let us know that it would be approximately 15,000. So this is an example of one that if it was in the budget, we would get a handful of estimates if we could. I don't know how many companies do this type of work, so we'd have to kind of dig into that. But
Can I ask you what the scope, is that have to do with just kind of, do they go through and look at maybe what might be obsolete, what might be redundancy or inconsistencies or process from ordinance to posting? Are they looking at all of that in the code, and how do we maintain it, make it, can we make it any more user-friendly? I'm just wondering what the scope of
yeah,
that
so,
work is.
and having used them in the past, they had a lead attorney, and he was an attorney, I think, somewhere in the Midwest. He spent probably 6 weeks kind of going back and forth with, and he was specifically looking, he wasn't changing, there was no policy change. He wasn't, there was no part of it that came back and said, hey, we think this is a bad policy, or we are seeing other communities change that. It was very much a checking references, this section of the code is referring to that section of the code. That section of the code got changed 5 years ago, so you have this dangling reference. They were checking our references to state code. There are a lot of references in here that recite a state reference that we don't check very frequently. Things like name changes, OCRM is in our code numerous times. They've changed names to BCM. And I can forward you kind of their narrative of the process that'll be helpful. But from my perspective, it is very much a format and consistency check. It is not really, again, like a legal overview of, we think you're weak here, or we think your zoning code could be improved by considering this. It's not that type of thing.
They do a lot of hosting for a lot of
Yeah.
them. They're like the.
They're kind of the biggest, yeah.
I mean, would it be worthwhile just to, maybe at the next meeting, let's just review their scope doc and see if we want to add to it, or.
And that's
Does
one,
that
I
sound
don't
okay,
think
or-
that's in the budget currently, so we would either want to put some dollar amount as a placeholder in the budget for this. I don't think it's in there now, I could be wrong.
Is it?
Recodification?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so we'd either want to put it in for next fiscal year, or if it's, I mean, it could be done out of budget, but it's gonna, if we were to go the route of Muni code, it would be somewhere in the vicinity of 15 to 20,000.
Can you walk me through, and just briefly, the process? So we pass an ordinance, okay? Then it goes where?
Goes into, we have the hard copy that has all the whereases, and it
Right.
gets signed, stamped
Right.
by the
Signed.
mayor. It goes physically, that copy goes physically into a folder,
Okay,
held upstairs, fireproof cabinet.
yep,
And an electronic version goes to MuniCode.
okay,
So MuniCode then gets that copy, and it seems like it's about every 60 days.
that's where I'm going.
Yeah, it takes
Okay.
them about 60 days to update the MuniCode site with, and does that seem about right? A few months for it to actually show up online.
To show up online, because that's where we're running into some questions. like,
Yeah, and
where
they
is
let
that?
it, yeah,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
part of the process, and
Yeah.
they don't do it instantly. They've always been that way. So if somebody, and it's, we also post it online, on our website.
Okay,
So if somebody is wanting to see, like, April's ordinance that got enacted, they
we
would
have to go to that section of our website, not to
That's
MuniCode.
correct.
And that's, okay,
And then after it's
Communicate
it's
that.
been with them for a
Okay.
little bit, then it goes to it's incorporated into the Muni code.
okay, okay. Good information, thank you.
So we'll look at the scope document next meeting?
Yep,
Okay, then we'll go from there.
yep.
New business, discussion of director of planning and zoning position.
So Scott, you want to just walk through kind of what's happened to date, how that?
Sure.
So this really happened when, so historically, I was the director of planning, building, planning, licensing. And when I became the deputy in '22, I believe, there was a restructuring where I became a dual role employee as the deputy, and I maintained the position as the director of that department. So to fill really the day-to-day phone calls and, just the busy work of that, and not that it's busy work, but the time-consuming aspect of that job, the city, at that point, created the zoning administrator position. So I move up to the deputy. Matt Sims was the original zoning administrator. So he was dealing with the day-to-day zoning portions of that duty. I was solely doing management, kind of higher level management level work for the building department. That continued that way throughout my tenure as the deputy, and then when I became the city administrator, that duty has kind of stayed with me, managing the building department. I will just tell you from a practical application that department, I guess, luckily, has not needed a lot of oversight, except when there have been new hires, new employees. Particularly, we were out a zoning administrator for a while. There was kind of nobody at the city other than me that could do that. So it has been, the workload associated with that kind of dual purpose organization has ebbed and flowed. Right now, there is a fairly new zoning administrator and a fairly new building official. So those positions have required, a bit of training, kind of getting them up to speed. And generally, as time goes on, and Matt was the same way, it probably takes 2 years to kind of get up to speed with codes and how our code works in terms of zoning and planning. So it becomes a fairly labor-intensive part of my job until, and Matt kind of got it to a point where it didn't require a lot of attention and training and time. But then, of course, you know, there's turnover, so you get back to a position pretty quickly where we're just thin. And it, I mean, there was a time without a deputy, without a building official, without a zoning administrator, that we were super thin. So,
I remember seeing just not too many months ago with your name in 3 positions.
yeah. So it's one of those things. It hasn't been terribly problematic when things are smooth and the staff is tenured and but it does, I mean, it does have its challenges for sure, especially when you start getting down employees.
So something like, you know, when I watch the planning commission, and I think you're the staff liaison for that, correct, for the planning?
I'm there. Yes,
Well,
I
you're
am
the staff, I don't know what you
Yeah,
call it.
a staff,
But is
like
there,
almost like a city council.
is there a plan to change that?
I think with time, that was all, so the Board of Zoning Appeals used to be also under my work. That pretty quickly went to the zoning administrator. I think the planning part of it, I would be happy to shed that duty, but it would be one that would take some time. I mean, you'd have to have familiarity with the codes, the patterns, so I think ultimately, yes. It didn't happen with Matt to any great degree. And that role is, I mean, it is purely a zoning administrator role. It's not, I mean, when we hired for that position, it wasn't a kind of higher level position. It was zoning administration, and that's kind of it.
So when the comp plan comes around again, comprehensive plan,
Yes.
not compensation.
Yes. One plan,
one comp plan at a time. Does that fall under zoning administrator?
No,
Does
that's-
that falls under planning
Yes,
and
that's
director
an
of
example
planning?
of one that
One that needs.
went through the planning commission, kind
Right.
of worked for
Right.
years, and
Right.
needs to be back before council for approval. That's kind of right to the finish line, but needs to get over the finish line pretty quickly here.
But I guess I'm talking about a dedicated employee who does
Yeah.
that, yeah,
Yeah,
and not city administrator.
that was city administrator.
Right.
That, Matt was actually,
Yeah.
Matt was very helpful in that regard.
Go ahead. Do you have any more?
No, I know.
I mean, I kind of look at this, Douglas, and you did this job full-time for a lot of years. And it's, I mean, I don't know, it seems to me like it's a full-time job. And when I look at the department there, we've got 3, 4, 5 key revenue streams that are coming out of there with the permits, the licensing on both sides, and all the ancillary revenues that are coming there. And not to mention the oversight with the building and the comprehensive planning. And as much as, you know, thank you for doing 2 jobs, I'm a firm believer. I think that's more of a regulatory and monitoring and management position, where the city administrator is clearly, I mean, you've got, every minute you're doing that, you're diluting your own resource. And, you know, I'd like to see a full-time city administrator position. And, you know, my take on it is that, you know, between segregation of duties, I think assistant to help you, you know, you've got more of a executive management and relationship with, you know, outside the organization on the municipalities, where this is an inwardly focused, predominantly dealing with, you know, contractors and quite a sophisticated clientele, not to mention the employees as well. I thought we were filling that position, it just had lagged. And when I saw it kind of on here, I thought, I knew you were kind of carrying the load. I didn't know that we'd eliminated, or that council approved kind of an organization change and eliminated the position. I thought that that was always going to be filled. And, I mean, I would suggest that we budget for it and fill it and get you the resource you need to put the focus on that functional area. And even in succession planning, if you look at it, if something, God forbid, were to happen, we'd have to fill 2 positions, not just one.
Yeah,
It's a good thing we hired Douglas, isn't it? You'll be looking for 2 positions instead of just 1.
Well, I think to Scott's point, I think it ought to be 2 positions also. I mean, I
Oh, I
think a
agree with
city.
that. I totally agree.
Yeah,
yeah, I will just say, I mean, when I was in that position, the day-to-day kind of, and it was good for the department to have the manager, the zoning administrator, that person physically there, physically kind of, which I'm not today.
I'm guessing you can deal at a different, level with certain issues and things of that nature that might be, and help the group,
Yeah, but there was not a zoning administrator in addition to the director. That was the kind of day-to-day work. With 2 positions, I mean, we now have a zoning administrator. I think if you add an additional employee, I don't know that there's 2 people there. I don't know that there's work enough for 2 people. Would be my only, that they would be an underutilized, we could
I think we got
find
a lot
something.
going on.
Yeah, that we could find something
I
for
think we
them to
can,
do, but I don't know that if Duet is doing full-time zoning administration and dealing with all the construction projects and the codes associated with it, I don't know that there's a full-time job in addition to that work, in that role. So that would be, there also physically isn't room in that office, and that was another, there was the expectation, and at the time, there was kind of a belief that the staff would be, that the building would be physically changed to kind of be physically closer and not separated by floors. That hasn't happened. I think that would help to just have kind of, day-to-day interactions with, because right now, I mean, I'm either here all day or I'm up in my office on the phone, or so there's not a lot of just one-on-one time with the staff members down there. But to that, I just don't know that there is work enough for 2 people, which is what you would have if you create.
Well, I'm looking at also the opportunities, not just in the planning and zoning, but with the licensing, I think we've got a lot of opportunity on revenue assurance, or we've got a lot of growth going on, we've got a lot of compliance. I think there'd be plenty to do for a director position, both internally and externally. That's just my feeling. I think they're 2 distinct jobs, and I think with everything that's going on in the island, versus 10 years ago, could easily justify the position. And I think most other municipalities have a separate planning and building department. I mean,
That is certainly true.
So my recommendation, if we're okay here, is bring it up to Ways and Means, and we can see if we can get it.
Have a discussion.
Make sure it's in the budget if we go forward, and
So you want
I'm
to,
good
I
with
mean,
that.
I'm thinking that, I think we have the data probably from our wage study as to what a position like that what the pay would be. You want that to go right to Ways and Means, or?
I think so. I think that we've got an opportunity. We're kind of getting down to crunch time on the budget. It looks like we've got maybe the codification, a couple dollars there, and then this position, make sure we don't leave that one behind. That'll also help us with, any revenue decisions we got to make too. I don't think this one's I don't think it's a big huge expenditure, and I think it'll pay back.
I'm all in favor of going to Ways and Means, but I listened very carefully to what Douglas said, and I pay attention and respect his knowledge and experience in correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded like to me that your only concern is there enough work?
Well, work and physical, I mean, there's literally not room.
Not room, okay.
Physically in their office. I mean, that
Right.
is a problem.
That is a problem, yep.
Or they have to sit upstairs.
Yeah, that we actually have we do have an office kind of held for what was the resilience officer, that we made that space, so, I mean, they could sit up here. Having been in that role, I think it's less than ideal to kind of know just what's going on in the office. I mean, that is something I think above all, that would be the benefit, somebody just kind of in the room helping people coming in, not potentially, I think that's been a challenge for me, is physically being separated, just kind of detaches you from the department a bit. So I'd hate to see it continue that way, but that would be a challenge.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Last item on the agenda, discussion of the remote attendance.
Yeah, can
Yeah,
I
you go
say a
ahead.
few
Yeah,
things
sure.
before we start on this? So, this all started with me going to Jamaica and attending remote. And as I read the code now, I have an apology to make to Nicole, because apparently I was supposed to notify you. And what I did was I notified the mayor and you, Douglas, that was a few weeks before, because I only read the first paragraph. I was looking for two things. Who do I have to tell, and does my vote count in a remote meeting? And I went to the first paragraph, and then I skimmed it and went down to, yes, you can vote. So it occurred to me, and that's, and I've spoken to a few people, I guess, that maybe we don't all know the rules, and maybe it's just me that doesn't know the rules and how it works for remote attendance of meetings. And is our code clear enough on that? So that's where some of this may have stemmed. I think we all need to know that when we're remote, that yes, that our vote counts. It does not count toward a quorum. That the notification, and when I read it now, we clearly have to tell the city clerk, tell Nicole, under the first paragraph, under, what is it, A, under there, I'm not looking at it. Let's see it here. Under A, yeah, under A, but then under the main paragraph, it's that there's an approval process by the mayor or the committee chair. So, I just want everybody to be clear, especially on council when somebody's remote, that why they're remote, and that we're giving the proper notification. That's all.
Well, I don't want you to be too hard on yourself thinking that it started with you.
Well, for me, it started with me.
Well, for you, it started with you, but for a lot of others and a lot of citizens, it's gone on for a long time. And,
You mean with not knowing, or I'm not clear?
no, people going on vacation.
Uh-huh.
And, there's a lot of people that feel like you signed up for the job, you should make every effort to be there, to be physically present. People expect you to be there. They voted for you.
Absolutely.
All council members. And they don't want you to, they say, well, where's so-and-so? Well, this guy was in Europe, or this person was in South America, or whatever. And like, what were they doing? They're on vacation. It sits bad with the public. I understand that people have to take vacations and have things like that, but I've tried to make every meeting that I'm supposed to be at. I take it very seriously, my responsibility to show up. And so I thought that all this was clear. I've talked to the mayor about it endless times, that remote attendance should be, if like you're sick or you have a family emergency or something's going on that you don't have control over, that it's not just to take off whenever you want.
I will say, I think you know, we live in a city of retirees, a lot of retirees. We have a lot of young people too, thankfully, because it's sustainability of the city. But I also think that vacations happen, and I think all of us are very cognizant of trying to schedule vacations around council meetings. It doesn't always work, and I think as long as it's not abused of being gone or how many absences you have during a year, if you can, in this age of calling in, I don't think it should be the primary thing that you should do. But once in a while, people take vacations. I have no problem with that, and allowing for that, because that's the world we live in right now, and practically speaking, that's who we are.
I
So-
schedule my vacations around council.
I try to too.
I always do.
I try to too.
Now, watch me, I'll miss one here.
You're going to miss one coming up, and I am so
thinking-
coming after you.
Well,
Kidding.
you go back all the years that I've been on council, and you'll find that I may have, it's including committee meetings, maybe you missed 2 or 3
Right.
in all those years. And only zoomed in during COVID when I had to. But I know some council members, I know that Jimmy Carroll had 10 years service to the city. He never missed any
Well, I
meeting.
think that's all our goal.
And I think that's also personal choice. I think that, you know, I understand the desire to be here 100% of the time for attendance, but, you know, I am a retiree, and occasionally I'm going to take a vacation. And, you know, I look at, we had a really very effective circumstance not long ago where one council member was out of town working for almost 7 months and had to zoom in or call in for every single meeting. And I commend the individual for doing that, for taking the time out of their schedule, but life happens. And, you know, or went on vacation, or, you know, some have called in from golf tournaments because they've gone to a charity event or something. And I commend them for taking the time out of those personal, you know, events to take the time to come to a meeting. And I think if you're professional, you're prepared, you're willing to take time out of your personal time to come to these meetings and attend and be prepared and participate, you should, one, be able to do that. I don't think it should replace physical presence at all. But I don't think that should be a deterrent or looked upon unfavorably if people are calling in from a vacation or a family event or simply a charity event that's in the next county. People are making the effort, whether it's committee, commission, or what have you. Like, these are relatively volunteer jobs, and I think it's great that people are able to do them. But I don't want to ever deter flexibility from somebody spending their time with their family or whatever to be able to attend a meeting remote. It doesn't substitute physical presence, but I think we need to. There's one other thing I think as well in this code. It gives an individual council member the ability to not approve the attendance. I think, if I'm reading this correctly.
I actually, the first paragraph, and when remote attendance is approved by the mayor or the committee chair, I took that to be in addition to, because it's an and. So you can only take it personal emergency, illness, or due to other exigent circumstances, and when approved. So I think that would be the exception if it's, I guess strictly interpreting it.
Well, that's an
If
and,
it's
not an
a-
or, yeah.
If it's a personal vacation, that's not an illness, an exigent circumstance, or an emergency. So in that situation, I do think a strict interpretation would be, at that point, it would have to be approved by the mayor or the committee chair. And I will also just add that virtual meetings used to be a challenge for us. We were pulling down big screens. We were, it was, again, it'd be one of us kind of pulling in our laptop and doing it and plug. It has gotten much simpler for us. With the working with the computer at the back that's being handled by Joshua, it's a lot easier for us, for whatever that's worth. So it's not a burden from the staff's perspective. It already is a Teams invite. So it's gotten much easier from our end, where it was a little bit of a challenge from our ends. I mean, I do think that council, most of the time, is looking for kind of lowering the barriers of entry onto council. You know, that you don't want it to be seen as somebody like John Moy, who's got kids and a
Right.
trillion things going on, try to get them in under the tent as opposed to putting up barriers that might keep them from.
Yeah, if he's on spring break
participating.
and wants to call in with, take the time, then he should.
That's okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
There's
I
no
think
judgment.
that if you're going to run, you need to look at the code. And look at what it says. And say, can I abide by this? Or I can abide by it, but I'm going to change it. If we're not going to follow these rules, then this needs to be changed.
I would agree with you, Jimmy. I think we need to clarify, because I think we've been applying it, maybe with some loose interpretation as to what an exigent circumstance is or what have you, but, yeah, I wouldn't not want to, deter somebody from joining council because they feel like they're gonna have to be at 100% of the meetings and can't take a vacation. And number two, I don't want to be in the position to say, you know what, Jimmy, you can't, I'm not gonna approve your remote access in, or Bev, I'm not gonna, allow your remote access in. So I think we do need to change those items.
The public wants us to be at the meetings. I know you don't want to hear it, but I can
No,
remember.
no.
I can hear it. Another point. In the old days, when there was a certain lady that was mayor, if you weren't in the meetings, she would say, this absence is not excused. She would call you out, and there wasn't much you could say.
Well, and that was in the day of, there was no
There was no
remote. There was
remote.
no recalling
Yeah, there
in.
was-
You
right.
were out. And I think, COVID did a lot of things. But one of the things that it changed is, I think, some of our processes of how we do things. And like I said before, I don't think it's the primary thing is, I'll just call in, that's easier. I think we all make a very, very good attempt at being at the meeting. There's nothing like being at a meeting. That remote is, to me, it's very, very difficult.
Well,
And I hope I never
yeah.
have to do it again, honestly.
You're right.
But I know I will have to, because at some point. But I can tell you that I think we all do everything to be at the meeting, to be engaged. And it's very hard to be engaged when you're remote.
Right.
So,
Believe it or not, the public does notice.
oh, of course they do. And so does the person. So does the council member. So, but I think making this clear and.
It has to be changed.
It has to be changed, yeah.
If you all, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I've got some suggested language that I can get to you
Okay.
on that.
So you want to put this, maybe provide a red line, and
Sure.
we'll put it on the next
Next agenda.
agenda.
Great.
Okay. Next meeting is
Second.
June 2nd.
Second at 1.
Being there no further business.
There is further, Mr. Chairman, I just have a quick question. Sometimes in the past, given the workload, some committees take off 1 month in the summer. Is that something y'all would like to consider, or do you think we have too much work to do? I'm not saying we should or we shouldn't. I'm just saying, June or July, in the past, July or August.
Why don't we take a look after the June meeting and see if we take a pass on a month? If we-
Right, we can all go on vacation.
July.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right. No, let's stay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.